Hello, kia ora, g'day. I'm Philip Duncan from Weather Watch TV on YouTube with your Australia-only 7-day rainfall outlook. Let's get into the forecast. We've got a lot of high pressure still to the south. That is keeping a lot of Australia dry as it pushes back against the tropical lows that are trying to form. Now, we've got a couple of lows worth monitoring in the tropics over the next week. The first one here north of Darwin is looking quite likely to form into a cyclone over the next couple of days. It doesn't look so likely to be affecting Timor, as we said the other day. Now it's likely to be out at sea, hugging the Kimberley coastline. We'll be watching that very closely. The other area of low pressure in the tropics could be another one forming around the Gulf of Carpentaria, and that may also form into a cyclone for the far north of Queensland. Other low pressure, this one here around Western Australia, that is drifting inland over the next day or two, and that's going to produce some pretty decent rainfall for some areas, especially around the Esperance Goldfield area. You could be seeing some good rainfall, but elsewhere in these areas that really want rain, I'm sorry to say, you don't have much rain on the way. Basically none for a large portion of Australia. Let me make sense of it. Here you go with the 7-day departure from normal. So everywhere you see red and pink, that is drier than usual for this time of the year. So a big part of Australia not seeing rain. We do see a couple of showers in the southwest corner of Tasmania, not very much though compared to the week you just had. And look at the showers along the eastern side here. So kind of normal rainfall, maybe in some areas a little bit more than usual, but it's not a massive amount of rain. And the tropics also looking pretty quiet, except for those two areas where we could be seeing a tropical low. So Western Australia, probably one of the best parts of the country for rain if you need it. So let's try and make sense of all of that. We've got this big high pressure zone moving into Bass Strait on Friday. That is expanding up to the tropics and keeping that rain to your north. So the far north of Queensland, Cairns northwards, best chance of rain there with that easterly coming through. Showers all the way down the eastern side to about Port Macquarie. Some of those showers might be a little heavy, but for the most part, they are not producing very much in the way of rain. And you've got this low pressure zone around Carnarvon on Friday. So with this low up here north of Darwin and that low pressure zone there, that's kind of the sinking low pressure area into the northwest, which means this cyclone or potential cyclone is likely to drift southwestwards in the days ahead. Similar to what we said the other day, except now Timor and places like Kupang, they are not exposed to having a tropical cyclone. So let's have a closer look at Friday. Here is that storm, there is Darwin. So it's right offshore to the north of you. It's not really powerful. It's borderline on whether that would be a tropical cyclone or not. If it is, it's at the lowest level and by the looks of it, not affecting the mainland, certainly not affecting Darwin in any serious way. But that heavy rain is fairly close to you, so just worth monitoring on the radar. Jump forward 24 more hours, and now it is west of Darwin. So it goes from being north of Darwin to west of Darwin in 24 hours. Most of that wet weather is offshore or around the islands to the north. Otherwise, on the mainland itself, around Northern Territory, just the usual kind of showers. And it's offshore from the Kimberley enough as well to not really be posing much of a threat there. Here is the bigger picture. So big picture, it doesn't look like much up there to the west. Got some heavier areas of rain, especially north of Cairns, up to about Port Douglas. There could be 150, 200 millimetres falling in just a day. Pretty normal kind of tropical weather coming through for you. And everyone south of that, down to about Sydney, easterly winds pushing through those showers, the cloud. Then that disappears once you get over the hills and it is a dry wind blowing all the way to Western Australia. Now you've got that convergence zone as that low moves in. And so when we jump to Sunday, now you start to see some heavier rain forming around that southern coastline, but also inland areas, seeing that line of rain, which could become heavier going into the end of Sunday and going into the start of next week. Further east of that though, very dry for South Australia. Sorry, you've got north to northeasterlies picking up for you. Dry in Victoria, dry for most of Tasmania. Pretty quiet forecast for Tassie considering the weather that you had last week or over the last week. And dry weather also, Melbourne up to Canberra and pretty much to Sydney. You're not seeing much in the way of rain in those areas. Here's a closer view on Sunday of that low off the coast of the Kimberley. And you can see it is quite a deep storm here on Sunday, but it's still offshore. So it's not posing any threat really to these more populated areas like Broome. Not seeing much of a threat for now, but it's worth monitoring. It's close enough to certainly be keeping an eye on. So next week, up in the tropics, we've got low pressure deepening around here. So you could be seeing more thunderstorms and heavy rain. Most of it is around Cairns northwards, but maybe down to Townsville as well, seeing some of that. Just the usual showers carrying on down to about Port Macquarie. Plenty of easterly winds. Those easterlies are going to pick up. Low pressure is deepening around the Coral Sea and Vanuatu, New Caledonia. High pressure is strong east of Tasmania and the southern Tasman Sea. So between those two areas, easterly winds blowing through. So they'll be a little windy in these coastal areas with a few showers in the mix. And we jump over to Western Australia, look at that line of convergence. Some heavy rain coming through for you, especially around Kalgoorlie to Esperance, where you could be seeing 50 or 60 millimetres, maybe more, in just a day. So if you need rain, that is going to be fantastic news for you. Let's go through the week. So Tuesday of next week, we've got a possible tropical cyclone off the coast of the Kimberley, another tropical low deepening near the Gulf of Carpentaria, and that may well form into a cyclone. And we've still got the easterly winds blowing through as that low pressure system around the Coral Sea and New Caledonia deepens, and the big high in the Tasman moves a little further northwards. So Norfolk Island, Lord Howe Island, easterly winds and a few showers. Similar story, Port Macquarie all the way up to really the far north Queensland. You're seeing those showers coming through. The showers around Western Australia and the south carry on. They are heaviest around Esperance to the east, and they will also start to fall apart as we go through next week. And by Wednesday, southerly winds, a few showers. From Ceduna westwards, won't be very much in South Australia, mainly dry still or completely dry into that southeastern corner, but still those easterly showers carrying on along much of the eastern coastline, although Sydney to Canberra, you're not seeing very much in the way of weather, and similar story down around Tasmania. So let's go towards the end of next week. So low pressure dominates out here, Fiji, to the Coral Sea, to the Gulf of Carpentaria, and way over here to the Timor Sea. We are seeing some low pressure zones really dominating the map. But because we've got high pressure pushing back, we're not seeing a lot of that rain moving into the more populated places. You do see some southerlies and showers coming through there for parts of South Australia, but it's not going to be much. And I feel, sorry to be negative, but it's just not going to be a lot, even though it does look a little blue on there, but that's the bottom of the scale. And the other feature, the easterly winds blowing through Western Australia. So after you've had that rain, the easterly winds kick back in. Let's make sense of all that rainfall. So you can see the tropical lows up here tracking along. You can see the thundery downpours or the rain that's going to be moving into Western Australia, and also the buildup of those showers in the east. You know, there may not be much each day, but add day after day after day, and suddenly these rainfall totals are lifting up more towards the 40, 50, 60 millimetre mark, with obviously the heaviest rain from Cairns area northwards. So we're monitoring this possible cyclone around the Kimberley and Northern Territory, and the other one that might also be forming near the Northern Territory and far north Queensland. There are a few moving parts to go, but yeah, a few things to talk about. Place of the day this week, Port Pirie in South Australia. What a cool spot. Got the hills ranges along here. Rainfall, 345 millimetres. I believe you're a lot lower at the moment, desperately needing some real rain around South Australia. Temperatures aren't too bad, 26 to 32 degrees, not quite as hot as it's been, and the overnight lows getting easier for sleeping as well, but unfortunately, 7-day rainfall forecast, we are not forecasting any. If you do, it'll be like a millimetre or two, won't really produce very much. That is all from me for this week. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll catch you again on Monday.